Welcome back to Geek Critique, guys. So we have an interview with the James S.A. Corey. And if you're, in the know with the Expanse, you know that it's two authors, Ty Frank and Daniel Abraham. So I'm really excited to show you guys what I had to say to them, or what they had to say to me.
So, I hate to be this guy, but book 6 has been pushed off.
No, it's coming out December 6th.
Okay, wasn't it coming out July?
Yeah, but now it's in December 6th.
Okay.
Oh.
All right, so no push off.
So it's great.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Will that push off the other books down the line, or?
We're actually looking at accelerating, if we can, the publication of the last 3 books. We're trying to get the last 3 done in hopefully between 8 and 10 months.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
we're right at the end of the project.
Yeah.
And the closer you get to the end of the thing, the more it kind of picks up steam. So we're optimistic.
And to be fair, while we were 6 months late with the book, we did make 2 seasons of television while we did it.
So,
That is true.
No small task.
yeah,
No small task at all.
we were busy.
I think what you guys do, how you work together, is so unique and so interesting for me, at least. I don't know. I thought that was a really cool thing. And when you are reading the books, you can kind of hear the different voices.
Sometimes.
I think you can.
Sometimes.
Really?
Yeah,
I
there
thought-
there are characters in the books that people swear Daniel wrote that I actually wrote.
Really?
Yeah.
And vice versa.
And there
Oh.
are times when we're looking through the books and there's a really good line. I mean, I can tell you who wrote the first draft of every chapter,
Yeah.
but it goes through so many edits and so many changes. I can't tell you who wrote
okay.
which sentence.
Really?
Yeah, so we will run into lines where it's like, was that mine or yours?
Do
Yeah.
this.
The style changes more with the point of view character than it does with who wrote the point of view character. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think it's really well done, and I wanted to know, how did this kind of come to fruition? You guys just met and were like, oh, we're both writers, why not?
No.
Just-
None of
let's
those
just
things.
collab.
No, none of those things happened.
Daniel asked me to write a book with him. 'cause
I was in a tabletop role-playing game that Ty was running, and he had done all of the world building and had all of this. Anytime you asked him a question, he knew the answer, and it got to the point where I was, calling him at 3 a.m. going, okay, I know how to. I think I know how to deal with the currency exchange problem. I'm serious. I know how to. I have an idea, and at that point, I figured, okay, he's done so much making this rich world. I've written some books. I know how to do that. We should just put them together and then, do that.
It worked really well. That was a
Thank
really
you.
good idea.
I will say, there were a lot of other very successful and popular writers who were in that game, and I'm the only one who said, ooh, we should write a book. So that's how I went.
Yeah, I mean, George R.R. Martin was one of the players in my game. So,
Oh,
And did he collaborate with Ty?
so when night do you guys meet up? Can I come?
I feel like that would have been a very different series.
it
Yeah.
might have been. Yeah.
So with the Expanse seeming less like Star Trek and Star Wars, where there's always safety and you can always go somewhere surrounded by people with this big ship. It seems more like movies like The Martian, and Gravity, and Interstellar, where there's this ice. Even though Ceres and Earth play a big part, there's a lot of isolation. Do you think that this more scientific realism in fiction is kind of going to be more prevalent in more movies and shows to come? Because
It seems to be popular right now, which I'm all for. I loved The Martian. I loved the book, and I thought they did a great job making a movie out of it. And I enjoy that style because I like space, but I can't get it out of my head that we're probably not going to have hyperdrives anytime soon. So that middle space where we are out in space, we're exploring the worlds in our solar system and looking at all that, but we're still basically using technology that's just a little better than what we have right now. That's a really fascinating place to me. And so movies like The Martian, which really are set in that space, or Interstellar, which is set in that space, I'm happy that we're getting more of those. I hope we continue to do so.
Do you see us getting the Mars or Ceres anytime soon?
I think we're going to land a robot on Ceres.
I think once we realize, once we find a way to make money doing that, yeah, it'll take us about a minute.
So a corporation.
A corporation.
I
I like the idea of mining the asteroid belt. There's a lot of stuff out there that we could use.
Would you guys ever volunteer again?
Oh Lord, no. It was hard enough getting me on a red eye to come here.
But we're glad you came.
I wanted to ask, all of your characters are really, you have a very diverse cast of characters, and they're all really unique and have vulnerabilities and pasts, really interesting pasts. Which one was the most difficult to convey on the screen?
The one I was expecting to be the most difficult to do on the screen was Amos.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
Then we got Wes.
Then we got Wes, and he just did it. It was like, okay, so that worked pretty well.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I know what I was coming in expecting and fearing.
Yeah.
But that totally didn't play out.
I felt like this season actually, or not this upcoming season, but last season actually helped me to understand the character a little more in a way that I didn't really get.
Wes?
I don't know, just seeing it helped me a lot.
The thing about Amos and Wes is Amos, people mistake him for being a tough guy, and they mistake tough guys for people who are like threatening and growling and mean. And
Talking
Wes,
shit about you.
yeah, you right here. Wes was one of the only people who auditioned for the part who understood when Amos was saying, I could kill you. He wasn't threatening. He was just reporting. It was just, I could. And if you don't, then he doesn't have to. That's great too. But he's never trying to talk his way out of a fight by threatening you. He's never trying to intimidate anybody out of a fight.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Have there been any challenges, I guess, from transitioning from
I think for me the biggest difficulty was my own profound ignorance of the form of television and what the media required and how the shift would play once it had gone through all of the writing of scripts and running through actors and running through directors and running through post-production. There were a lot of things that we were doing in the first season that I thought were just, I was compromising and I was willing to let other people do it because they knew better, but it just seemed like a bad idea. And then I saw it on screen and thought, oh yeah, no, that worked. That was me. You guys were right. So that was, the learning curve for me.
And with that, are you referencing kind of the transitional period with the crew? Because we were talking actually to the producer about that, where he was saying that basically they kind of rewinded a little bit on the relationship of the crew. Like when we're reading the books, they all know each other super well, but when I was surprised when watching the show, like, oh wow, they don't really know each other that well at the beginning, at the offset of this. Is that what you're talking about, or you're talking about like different, facets?
That is not specifically what I was talking about, but
okay.
I can see that's a decent example of that too.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there was actually one particular moment in the season finale that I was not sure about until I saw it play.
Okay. Interesting.
The storylines, they seem to be overlapping as in terms of like what you've written in book 1 to 5. With the show, do you plan on maybe merging some storylines to make the story a little tighter, or?
Well, actually, Narain, the showrunner, Narain Shankar, and I were having a lot of conversations about ways to plot season 3 as we were wrapping up production on season 2. And that's one of the things we talked about, is that on the show, it's really hard to do, and then 18 months passed. It's very unsatisfying. So finding ways to sort of organically get to the same plot points without just having this huge span of time that happens off screen. So you have to do that to some degree. And that means, last season we brought Vasarala in early because we really wanted to see what was happening on Earth. And she's part of the story. She just wasn't one of the POV characters in the first book, but clearly she existed and was on Earth doing things. So bringing her in early. And then in season 2 now, the character of Bobby Draper, the Martian, will start from the very first episode, even though the events that start her off in the second book occur later in the season. So we'll get to see more of her sort of pre those events. And that sort of thing is just going to keep happening. I mean, it makes the story feel bigger. It means that people don't just show up the first time something interesting in their life happens. Yeah, so we'll keep doing that.
Great.
And I wanted to ask about the pacing too. So with this first season, you got about like 70% way through the first book. I'm just like guessing a number there.
Ish.
So now how about with the second season? Or is that just going to be the end of the first book, or is that going to be?
That would be.
It'll be
tricky.
parts of both.
Yeah, because there's a lot that happens.
Part of moving this into a television show is that we're not actually retelling book and then a book and then a book and then a book and then a book. We're retelling a story that we're doing over 9 books in a different medium. So, we'll bring stuff earlier or push stuff back or drop stuff in the show because of the constraints of that retelling of the story. But we don't feel obligated to have everybody go, oh, there was the end of the book, and now we start something new. It's all supposed to be very organically one story.
That's a good way of doing it. And I wanted to wait. I don't want to hog it. Do you guys have questions or? Okay.
Got great questions.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure. I don't want to be, a pig. But I wanted to ask. Oh, no, I lost.
Yeah, it's gone now.
Yeah. Oh no, I do. I remember.
Okay.
Sorry. I wanted to ask, did you guys ever reach out to George R.R. Martin and ask? Because I know that's been kind of. I can only imagine how stressful it is for him writing his final book while the show is, moving forward more. But did you guys ask him about different challenges that you would face transitioning your book into a show?
No,
you don't.
No.
The D&D crew never got back together.
No, it's not like we don't hang out with George. But his experience of Game of Thrones and our experience of The Expanse aren't comparable.
Okay.
What he was doing and what we're doing, just on a day-to-day basis, don't look the same.
Okay.
I mean, he will give you advice now and again that it's
don't let the media push you around.
Yeah, don't let the media push you around. The media is going to try to generate drama. Oh man, you got I don't know. But I mean, the way he approaches writing, the way he approaches involvement in the show. George is a great guy, but we're doing, what he's doing, don't look the same.
No, but getting to watch him navigate the business side of it, you're gonna learn things that you can keep an eye out for, just because the business is similar, and he navigated the business side, and I got to watch that, and so when I got to certain places in the process, I'd be like, oh yeah, I recognize what's happening now. I know the next thing that's supposed to happen after this. That's always useful. So.
Yeah, it's always good to have someone, to relay.
It's really nice to be working with somebody who isn't completely ignorant when you are. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. It's like even if, you have a friend who's an electrician and you become an electrician.
You never want to be the first person through the minefield.
Yes, exactly. Send him first.
So Robert Kirkman's talked about how he likes the show The Walking Dead to kind of redo things that he would have done differently in the comics, like keeping Shane alive for longer, things like that. Is there anything that you guys might see yourselves taking advantage of where you might say, I don't like how this quite turned out, I want to change it a little bit for the show?
We don't do that specifically for those reasons, but it is fun to have. It's fun to have the chance to do something you couldn't do because of the structure of the books. Because of the point of view structure of the books, there are characters we didn't get to introduce as early as we get to introduce them in the show. But there's no reason to force that structure on the show. So then we could do things like have Officer Wallace show up early, or we can have Bobby show up early, or we could introduce the Jules Pierre Mao character much earlier in the show than we do in the book. And that was fun to do. It was enjoyable to do. It's not things I would change about the book, but it's certainly things that now I don't have to do that structure. Of course I want to do that, yeah.
Yeah, and there are times when we are surprised by an interaction that, two characters who never talked in the book run into each other on the screen. It's like, oh no, that is interesting. Oh, that's great. I wouldn't want to go back and restructure the books to put them in, but I'm glad I got to see them here.
And you got to be careful to keep the two projects very separate in your head. You don't want any cross-pollination going on. All it does is ruin the two things.
There's times I feel like we're doing, Christopher Nolan's Batman here and Batman 66 here, and we're just trying not to have them cross-pollinate.
Do you guys ever run into issues like that where like you'll forget which happened in which?
Not yet.
We're pretty good about that so far. Well, part of it is that we're working on book 7 while we're adapting book 2. So there's a gap.
Cool. Which one is each of your favorite characters to write?
I never fail to enjoy writing Christian Absalom.
How come?
She's really funny and she's really mean, and I try to be funny and I try not to be mean. So getting to spend a little time in her skin is a relief for me.
So season 1, we didn't get a lot of Christian Avasarala's personality from the books.
By which you mean
Like
profanity.
Profanity, the vulgarity of her.
We're gonna talk in about 1 minute.
Okay.
We were all anticipating because we're terrible people.
Come back next season.
Okay.
We should talk.
All right,
Yes.
great.
I really want to laugh. She's great.
She is, yeah.
She has some of the best insults
Oh,
I
man.
know,
I've
right?
ever
Yeah.
heard.
Well, my favorite of her, the safe for work insults, is the meow meow cry meow meow. That's all I heard you say, which is actually my chemistry TA from quantitative analysis back in college. He would say that all the time, so I lifted it and put it there.
That's great.
With it being having to be like safe for work stuff, is there anything you're worried that might not be able to make it into the show the way you envision it?
Well, we certainly haven't shied away from the violence and gore.
No, I know we watched the thing.
Someone's getting taken off.
Yeah.
Well, not even that one. The hotel room scene in 9. We wrote that. I was like, oh, I don't want to watch.
Yeah,
that's
that was
terrible. Oh, that's horrible.
You're talking about Julie.
Oh
Yeah.
No,
That
it was brutal.
It was nauseous.
All that Julie stuff is brutal to
I had to go
watch.
clean my bathroom after that.
Dude, that's
It's
harsh.
not-
It's harsh. It's a
And the
difficult
thing
thing.
is Florence, who plays Julie now, is in person a lovely human being and one of the most beautiful people you will ever meet. And to watch us do that to her, I felt bad. I was like, I'm so sorry, Florence.
We
I
like
didn't
you, we
know
do.
you when we wrote this.
And I feel
We
bad.
totally would have changed the story if we'd known you.
Completely different thing.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna grab you
All right.
guys.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very
Thank
much.
you.